I am obsessed with a new Thresh build that might seem a bit unorthodox to say the least, but it's been achieving results for me and has felt very powerful for a myriad of different reasons. The idea started back in League of Legends Arena game mode, where I decided to just rush an attack speed item, and Runaan's Hurricane stats seemed very appealing, especially with the tons of souls you can get in Arena, giving you 1.5 on-hit magic damage per soul. Though my idea of Runaan's Thresh could be traced back to Season 6, or at least it could if lolking.net, where I published my first written Thresh top guide, was still around. Though I had also played with it around Season 4 when this whole Thresh top debacle started, and I had moved from playing Jungle Thresh. So how does it work? Thresh, as mentioned, does 1.5 magic damage on hit per soul. This is in addition to the 200% AD ratio when you charge an auto attack for 10 seconds, but unlike that ratio, it doesn't need to charge at all, and so ramping attack speed can lead to incredible DPS. Runaan's will apply it 3 times, and of course an item like Rageblade will apply it on the phantom hits, while also providing the hybrid penetration to keep the damage relevant come late game. The idea is to go full on hit essentially, amassing so much attack speed that Thresh is turned into a 450 range blender that only gets stronger as the game goes on. So this sounds like nothing new, especially for someone who's played Thresh since release. Why is this suddenly working? Though the idea has always worked as a concept, I can only theorize that the shifting metas and Riot's changes to snowballing in the game with lowered gold and rune power levels has allowed more games to scale into the late game, where this Thresh build can really shine. But that's late game. What stops Thresh from being utterly clapped in the early game? If you've seen my Riftmaker build video, you may recall that I favour press the attack on Thresh. Well, other runes were nerfed, but only the exposure damage of press the attack was nerfed on patch 13.20. The important free hit proc damage of PTA is what gives Thresh Top most of his early game bites. His range may only be 450, but that's still a good 300 more than most melee top laners. A strong disengage with Flay, as well as a wonderful ability to control the opponent's positioning with Q and E, together with attack speed in your build and press the attack, makes his early game rather dangerous. Something like Lethal Tempo would seem tempting for a build like this. As good as that would be late game, I think press the attack will overall be more beneficial over the course of the entire game. Now that's all well and good, but why would on-hit Thresh build Runaan's Hurricane with its on-hit of only 30, when items like Blade of the Ruined King exist? Blade may be strong on paper, but it does have certain deal-breaker downsides for Thresh. If you recall from our previous video, AP Thresh solves one of his biggest problems by making Flay an acceptable Waveclear option. So how does Blade of the Ruined King Thresh get around that? He doesn't. Titanic Hydra does solve it, but that doesn't provide attack speed for the on-hit or PTA. Runaan's does, and at a cheaper price. 30 on-hit magic damage on Runaan's is more significant in the early game as well, especially against confused enemies that think you're more of a physical damage type. That said, just as magic damage may doom your enemies, Thresh still has a huge weakness to magic damage himself. So against magic damage laners, building like this is understandable. Against magic damage like Teemo, Swain and whoever else, rushing Wit's End instead of Runaan's is a very good idea, providing high AD, as much attack speed, and its own on-hit magic damage. Mordekaiser is a special case, and I recommend just paying the Mordekaiser tax. Since Thresh is such a blank slate, runes and reactive purchases are very important in the top lane. So plated steel caps into AD or auto-attacking team comps, or enemy top lane auto-attackers like Set or Tryndamere, or Mercury treads against AP teams and high CC are appropriate ideas. Purchasing even single components like Null Magic or Ruby Crystal against magic damage or true damage, where you don't quite want to commit into Abyssal Force or Force of Nature just yet, is something I find myself doing often, and it usually ends up being just enough to stay alive. Second Wind and Revitalize is a great combination for fixing Thresh's sustain in top lane, especially with Doran's shield. Though bone plating against more combo heavy early game tops, and overgrowth against those flat true damage dealers can be great as well. So why Waveclear? Why Runaan's? Without Waveclear, Thresh has little ability to prevent strong enemy top laners from just destroying his tower with a wave. Fast Waveclear to defend prevents this and allows you to extend your top lane farming period to gather more souls. while also helping you push into the enemy's turret to reset or punish roaming, or getting turret gold for yourself, and of course, to turbo farm souls. And most importantly, you don't need to commit Flay for Waveclear, keeping one of your disengage and escape tools at the ready. Though I'd be happier if you figured out a build for yourself, especially with upcoming changes in the new season. I will give you a build for right now, but if you're happy for the prior, your priorities are Runaan's Hurricane, attack speed and on-hit damage, with reactive defenses when necessary. If you don't need defensive boots, then you can go all out with Berserker's Greaves, but remember to get at least 1 or 2 defensive items later, like Abyssal Mask. Bramble Vest early against champions like Aatrox, Briar and Fiora is a great, cheap investment and can later become the full Thornmail. Rageblade with hybrid penetration should be all you need most of the time, but Void Staff isn't a bad pickup if the enemies are focusing that hard on magic resistance. Now for the straightforward build. Start with Doran's Shield and prioritize Recurve Bow and Boots. If you're going for Runaan's first, get Zeal over tier 2 boots unless you need Steel Caps or Merc Dreads, and then finish your Runaan's. If you're against AP like Teemo or Swain, rush Wit's End instead. If you need extra defenses, feel free to just grab them as needed, like Bramble Vest, Null Magic Mantle, or Ruby Crystal to help you farm with less worry. After Runaan's or Wit's End, you can either grab the one you didn't get if it's appropriate, but if you started Runaan's and don't need magic resist this game, feel free to go for Rageblade straight away. Any on-hit items are good ideas from here on, with defensive items as necessary. Just Runaan's and Rageblade will put in a lot of work, especially with an Abyssal Mask, but adding on a Wit's End, Blade Rune King, or even Kraken Slayer, which doesn't apply on Runaan's, are great ideas. But equally weighted are strong defensive options like Force of Nature against heavy magic damage, Thornmail against heavy physical damage and healers, Frozen Heart for attack speed and Callista, Randuin's for crit, etc, etc. I want to stress that this isn't exactly a build guide, and we're missing the whole how to play Thresh top guide part that I'll eventually make in its own video, so I would once again advise caution when playing something like this. Fleet Footwork and rushing Titanic Hydra or even Jack Show are great ideas to practice AD Thresh top with to help you learn more about how to play the lane, with enough survivability and sustain to make the lane less punishing, but still keeping the AD Thresh bite. If you have any other item ideas for AD Thresh or any Thresh build, please do leave a comment down below, as even with my years of dedication towards this silly playstyle, as a community we can possibly fuel even greater ideas that I wouldn't be able to come up with alone. As always, likes on the video are always appreciated, and for more off-meta content, I'd love it if you could subscribe. Shoutouts to the members: Light, AJBeat91, Warsquid, Ultimate Ground, Kaide, Bowblacks, My Dad, N-Era, Gentleman Zeta, Lunar Eagle 1996, 53rd Alabama Booty Obi-Wan Kenobi, AC Mortal, and Mr. Noodle. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Also, Mr. Noodle, I might have missed you in the last members shoutouts, apologies for that, but I've got you in here now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.